Yeah.
See, now I almost want to do it like with my back turned. Gotta lighten the mood, you know, because I'm taking this a different direction. This is not Oktoberfest. I can tell you that much. So a lot of stories start with what we call an inciting incident. In a lot of stories, this is a phone call, which was also the case for me. On December 5th last year, I was having a bad day. One of those days where your skin is crawling and everything was clammy that day. It was a really clammy December day, not a proper cold December day, just clammy and unpleasant. And I was sitting in a bus when my phone rang and I had a really bad feeling. Because usually I know that when my mother calls me, it's usually for a good reason. I picked up the phone, she told me go to the hospital. Your dad has been taken to the hospital, you have to go immediately. Your brother's on his way. My dad had been taken to the hospital twice before in my life. One was when he had acute appendicitis 10 years before. Another time when a big vein had burst inside and had been taken for acute treatment. Both those times I had a feeling that things were going to be okay. This time I immediately had a feeling that something was terribly wrong. I came to the emergency ward and was sitting there with my brother there as well. They had gone in for a CT scan and I came into the room. A doctor says we have to go into a separate room, which is when you know something is not right. The doctor was really trying to avoid the word cancer. You could see it almost terrified him, having to tell someone something that serious. We could immediately know that it was bad. I've thought about this a lot. How would it have been differently if it had been like a long, drawn-out process, if we had had more time, if that would have been better. But in many ways, I feel that the fact that we immediately knew that this was very serious and it was only going in one direction added a sense of clarity that I didn't expect. We had 2 months before he died. The cancer had started in his pancreas, which is, as I understand it, it's close to the stomach. It's a very aggressive form of cancer, and it had spread to his small intestine, which had made it difficult for him to swallow food. They had to do immediate surgery to remove some of his small intestine, and he was very weak at this point. Over the next 2 months, it was like seeing someone grow old very fast. He spent 3 to 4 weeks at the hospital. This was a hospital where he had worked as a priest for the past 21 years. He was used to being around dying patients. And for this reason, he immediately knew that we couldn't waste any time. There was no time for denial. There was no time not to talk to each other and not to spend time with each other. He did not have a lot of energy, but what energy he had, he used to be fully present. As you know, sometimes when siblings grow up, I have 2 brothers, one older, one younger. When you grow up, you start spending less time together. Maybe you develop different interests. My brothers and I are very different, and in many ways we have been pulled apart. There have also been some disagreements, some conflicts, especially between my brothers. But when this happened, when we were all suddenly drawn together by this crisis, all the things, all the grudges that were there before, suddenly had no meaning. My dad told my brothers in no uncertain terms, disagreements are a waste of time. You need to make amends, and we need to spend the time we have. I had several conversations with my brothers, with my mother, and with my dad over the next 2 months. I was fortunate in the fact that I didn't always have an easy relationship with my father, but in the last few years before he died, our relationship had gotten very close, and I had been able to talk to him about a lot of things. But nothing can prepare you for this in particular. We talked about a lot of things in that time. We talked about the future. We talked about what he wanted for me. With my brothers, we talked about, and my mother as well, we talked about what are we going to do when he's not around? What are we going to do when this thing that we didn't imagine, this unexpected thing, changes our lives? We're forced to reconsider the very foundation of what meaning is, because our minds create meanings, worlds of sense that we use to navigate the world, and when meaning is destroyed by something sudden, we're forced to reconfigure, to go back to the roots. And that is one of the most amazing abilities of the human mind, is the ability to take these crises and create new meaning from them. It's not an easy journey. Over the past, it's been almost 10 months, now 9 months since he died. We have discovered sides of each other that we didn't know before. My brothers and I talk together differently. I talked with my mother differently. In the vacuum that my dad left behind, we've had to rediscover who we are to each other. We've had to rediscover who we are as people. We're no longer the same people that we used to be, but that's not only a bad thing. It's in these circumstances that you're forced to really face who you are, and forced to face who are you going to be in the future. You become aware of how much time you can waste being bitter about things, how much time you can waste holding grudges, how much time you can waste not talking about the things that matter, how much time you can waste not telling the people around you how you feel about them, how much time you can waste not telling someone you love them. In the summer this year, I was in Sweden, in the house that my parents had owned for 10 years, a small summer house up in Småland, in the idyllic place surrounded by woods and lakes. It was a place that my parents had used as a safe haven when life became difficult. I started going long hikes by myself. My mother had injured her foot, so she couldn't join me. And I walked by myself along paths that I knew that my dad had walked at one point or another. The Easter before, the year before, I was up there with both my parents, and I once was walking in the woods and unexpectedly bumped into my dad, who was walking one of the paths as well. This time I came again to the woods, and I knew I wouldn't bump into him again. But I had this feeling that although he wasn't out there, and although I wouldn't be able to bump into him, maybe he was still walking, just a different path. Maybe he was still walking around out there. I just wouldn't bump into him, but he was still there. And I talked to my brothers about this as well, that we each realize that we carry part of him with us, because he gave each of us part of who he was. And so whenever we talk to each other, or whenever we talk to other people, we are still carrying that part with us, which means, or at least it feels like, he's not entirely gone. Anyway, that's my story.